Did you know that agriculture contributes to nearly a quarter of global greenhouse gas emissions? That's right, farming has a significant impact on our planet's climate. From the methane produced by cattle to the nitrous oxide from synthetic fertilizers, these greenhouse gases are more potent than carbon dioxide and pose a significant threat to our environment. The need for more sustainable farming practices has never been more urgent. In our quest to feed a booming population, we've lost sight of the toll our actions take on Mother Earth. But what if there was a way to turn this around? A solution that not only reduces these emissions, but also rewards farmers for their efforts. This is where carbon credits come into play. A carbon credit represents the right to emit 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide, or the equivalent amount of a different greenhouse gas. It's a form of trade. If a business has lower emissions than allowed, it can sell its extra allowances as carbon credits. So, what if there was a way for farmers to not only reduce their carbon footprint, but also to profit from these efforts? Enter carbon credits. Regenerative farming, a set of practices focused on replenishing the soil's nutrients, is transforming the way we approach agriculture. This isn't some newfangled trend, rather, it's a return to age-old techniques that respect the earth and its natural processes. At the heart of regenerative farming are practices like no-till cultivation. This method minimizes soil disruption, maintaining its structure and preventing erosion. It's like the difference between ransacking your house every time you clean and carefully tidying up. The former leaves everything in chaos, the latter preserves order. Then there's the practice of rotational cattle grazing. Think of it as a bovine ballet, where cattle are moved from pasture to pasture, giving each plot of land time to recover. This not only improves the quality of the grass, but also ensures the soil is naturally fertilized. Speaking of fertilizers, regenerative farming encourages the use of less synthetic substances. Instead, farmers rely on organic material like compost and manure to enrich the soil. It's a way of feeding the soil, not just the plants. And let's not forget about cover crops. These unsung heroes are planted to protect the soil from erosion and to add nutrients. Picture them as a cozy blanket for the earth, offering protection and nourishment. Each of these practices contributes to carbon sequestration, the process of capturing and storing atmospheric carbon dioxide. It's like a natural sponge, soaking up CO2 and helping to combat climate change. By adopting these practices, farmers not only improve the health of their soil and crops, but also help mitigate climate change. And in doing so, they're not just farming for today, they're farming for the future, ensuring that the earth can continue to sustain us for generations to come. Major corporations like General Mills and PepsiCo, as well as the Biden administration, are getting behind the regenerative farming movement. In recent years, the spotlight has been thrown onto regenerative farming, a practice that focuses on replenishing the soil's nutrients and sequestering carbon dioxide. This farming method has been gaining momentum and is now being backed by some pretty big names in the business world. Take General Mills, for instance. They're a food industry titan with numerous popular brands under their belt. They've committed to advancing regenerative agriculture practices on 1 million acres of farmland by 2030. They're putting their money where their mouth is, understanding that healthier soils can produce healthier food and play a critical role in combating climate change. PepsiCo, another heavyweight in the food and beverage industry, is also on board. They've got a sustainable farming program that aims to promote environmentally responsible agricultural practices, including regenerative farming. They're offering incentives to farmers who adopt these practices, helping them transition to this more sustainable form of agriculture. And it's not just corporate giants who are backing this movement. The Biden administration has also shown its support. By incorporating agriculture into their climate plans, they're recognizing and endorsing the role of farmers in mitigating climate change. They're encouraging the adoption of regenerative farming practices through various incentives, including financial support. So why are these big businesses and the government getting involved? Well, it's a win-win situation. For the companies, it's about securing their supply chains and ensuring the long-term sustainability of their ingredients. For the government, it's about meeting their environmental goals and tackling the looming threat of climate change. For the farmers, it's about improving the health of their soils, increasing crop yields, and tapping into new revenue streams like carbon credits. With this kind of backing, it's clear that regenerative farming is more than a trend. It's the future of agriculture. As this movement gains momentum, carbon markets such as Nori and Indigo Ag are emerging to encourage farmers to participate. But what exactly are these carbon markets? Well, envision them as a marketplace where carbon credits can be bought and sold. These credits represent a reduction or removal of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, with one credit typically equivalent to 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide. Farmers who implement regenerative practices can generate these credits by sequestering carbon in their soil. These credits can then be sold on the carbon market to companies looking to offset their carbon emissions. In essence, it's a system that financially rewards sustainable farming. Let's take a closer look at Nori and Indigo Ag, two trailblazers in this field. Nori, a Seattle-based startup, has created a marketplace specifically for removing excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. They provide a direct and transparent platform for farmers to sell their carbon removals to buyers. On the other hand, we have Indigo Ag, a company that's developed a robust platform called the Teraton Initiative. This initiative aims to remove 1 trillion tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere by incentivizing farmers around the globe to change their practices. Both Nori and Indigo Ag are making strides in promoting regenerative farming and the trading of carbon credits. They're helping farmers transition to more sustainable practices and rewarding them for their efforts by creating a new income stream. However, as with any emerging market, there are challenges. The verification process for carbon sequestration can be complicated and costly. There's also the issue of market volatility and price inconsistency for carbon credits. These markets are creating a new economic opportunity for farmers, but there are still challenges to overcome. While the promise of carbon credits is exciting, it's not without its hurdles. As with any significant change, transitioning to regenerative farming presents a set of unique challenges for farmers. It requires a shift in mindset, a willingness to learn and adapt, and often, an initial investment. For some, the idea of altering long-standing farming practices can be daunting. It's not just about changing the way a farm operates, but transforming an entire lifestyle that's been passed down through generations. Then there's the challenge of participating in carbon markets. These markets are still in their infancy, and their rules and regulations can be complex and confusing. Farmers may struggle to navigate these new waters and may be hesitant to participate due to a lack of clarity or understanding. So, what are the potential solutions for these challenges? Well, first and foremost, education is key. Farmers need access to resources that can help them understand the benefits of regenerative farming and how to implement these practices effectively. This could come in the form of workshops, online courses, or even one-on-one mentorship from those who have already made the transition. As for the complexity of carbon markets, there's a need for these markets to become more accessible and user-friendly. Clear guidelines and regulations, coupled with support and guidance for farmers, could go a long way in encouraging participation. Additionally, financial incentives and support could help alleviate some of the initial cost barriers associated with transitioning to regenerative farming. But perhaps the most important solution lies in patience and perseverance. Change takes time, and the transition to regenerative farming and the adoption of carbon markets won't happen overnight. It's a journey, not a race, and every step taken towards these goals is a step towards a more sustainable and resilient future for farming. Despite these challenges, the potential benefits for farmers and the planet make pursuing carbon credits a worthwhile endeavor. The carbon credit market offers an exciting new frontier for farmers. As we delve into the future of farming, we uncover the immense potential of carbon credits. Picture this, a world where farmers are not just providers of food, but also custodians of the environment. This is the promise that carbon credits bring to the table. So, what does this mean for our farmers? Firstly, they gain an additional revenue stream. In addition to selling their produce, farmers can now earn from their efforts to sequester carbon. This financial incentive can help to offset the costs of transitioning to regenerative farming practices, making the shift more viable for a greater number of farmers. For consumers, this shift holds the promise of healthier, more sustainable food. Regenerative farming practices not only sequester carbon, they also enrich the soil, leading to more nutrient-dense crops. So, by supporting farmers who engage in these practices, consumers can contribute to a healthier planet while also nourishing their bodies. And let's not forget the environment. Carbon credits can be a powerful tool in the fight against climate change. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, agriculture accounts for nearly a quarter of all greenhouse gas emissions. By incentivizing carbon sequestration, we can turn one of our biggest emitters into a carbon sink, helping to balance our carbon books. But remember, this is not just about carbon. It's about transforming our farming systems to be more resilient and sustainable. It's about creating a future where our farmers can thrive, our food systems can nourish us, and our planet can breathe easier. By embracing carbon credits, farmers can play a critical role in combating climate change while also securing their own economic future. Now that you understand the potential of carbon credits in farming, it's time to take action. The opportunity to be part of a sustainable solution is at your fingertips. How, you may ask? You can directly support regenerative farming. Look for products in your local stores that are sourced from regenerative farms. They're not only healthier, but also a step towards combating climate change. Consider taking it a step further by investing in emerging carbon markets like nori and indigo ag. By doing so, you're not just supporting farmers but also contributing to a greener future. Remember, these markets are instrumental in encouraging farmers to adopt sustainable practices that sequester carbon dioxide. Don't underestimate your power as a consumer or an investor. Your choices can make an impact. Join the movement and help shape the future of farming, because every action counts in the fight against climate change.